There's a painful thing a lot of parents don't understand until very late in life. Sometimes it's not the big fights that create distance. It's the small comments said during lonely evenings, the tired little sentences that slowly make children stop wanting to call. Not because they stop loving their parents. Most of the time, they still love them deeply. They're just tired. Tonight, somewhere in America, an older mother is sitting alone in her kitchen. The TV is on low volume. Some old rerun she isn't even paying attention to. The house feels too quiet, so she leaves the sound on anyway. Every few minutes she glances at her phone. Nothing yet. No text, no missed call. Outside, life keeps moving. Cars pass, neighbors come home. Somewhere nearby, a family is laughing over dinner. Then finally, the phone rings. It's her son. But before the conversation can even become warm, she says, "We raised you our whole life, and now you're too busy to call?" And the mood changes immediately. The son goes quiet for a second. Not because he doesn't care. He does. He's just exhausted in ways she cannot see. Work, bills, marriage, kids, stress, life. And suddenly the call feels heavy again. That's how distance quietly starts in families. Not through hate, through emotional weight that keeps building year after year. A father says, "When I was your age, I always took care of my parents." A mother quietly says, "I guess nobody needs me anymore." Small words, but repeated enough times they drain people. Not because love disappeared, because peace did. And in the end, people stay close to the places that still feel warm, still feel safe, still feel like home. Before judging older parents too quickly, maybe we should slow down for a second and look at the kind of loneliness many of them live with every day. Imagine a father who spent 40 years waking up early for work. Same routine, same lunchbox, same long drives home. Back then, people needed him constantly. His family depended on him. His paycheck mattered. His opinions mattered too. Then retirement comes, and life suddenly gets quiet in a way he never prepared for. The phone rings less. Nobody asks for advice like before. Some mornings feel strangely empty, and little by little, he starts feeling invisible inside his own life. Or think about a widowed mother still living in the same house where she raised her children. The family photos are still there, the old dining table too. But now dinner is eaten alone. Some nights, the loudest sound in the house is just the ticking clock in the hallway. She tells herself not to bother her children. They're busy, she says. But loneliness doesn't disappear just because people stay silent about it. So when her daughter forgets to call, hurt comes out sideways. "You're always too busy for me now." But honestly, what she really means is something much softer. "I miss you." And the truth is, adult children are struggling too. Long work hours, bills, marriage problems, raising kids, constant stress. They love their parents deeply, but sometimes even answering the phone feels emotionally heavy before the conversation starts. That's where families begin misunderstanding each other. Parents are afraid of being forgotten. Children are afraid of never being enough. Nobody is evil here. Nobody stopped loving anybody. They're just tired in different ways. And a lot of painful words are really just loneliness, asking for love, but asking the wrong way. One of the heaviest things older parents sometimes say is this: "After everything we sacrificed for you." And honestly, most parents don't say it to be cruel. They say it because they want their children to remember. The long work hours, the missed vacations, the nights they stayed awake worrying about bills, all the things they quietly gave up for the family. But when those sacrifices get repeated too often, love starts feeling less like warmth and more like debt. A son drives 2 hours after work to visit his elderly parents. He brings groceries inside, changes a broken light bulb, fixes the kitchen sink, stays for dinner even though he's exhausted. Then right before he leaves, his father sighs and says, "We gave our whole life to you kids. Sometimes I wonder if it was even worth it." The son doesn't argue. He just nods quietly and drives home in silence. Not angry, just drained. because deep down, he already feels like he's trying his best, but somehow every visit still ends with guilt hanging in the air. This happens in so many families. Parents speak from hurt, children hear pressure, and after enough years, conversations stop feeling comforting. They start feeling like obligations people are scared to avoid. The strange thing is, most children actually want to help their parents. They want to call. They want to visit. They want to feel close. But love breathes better without emotional weight crushing it all the time. Sometimes one sentence changes everything. Instead of saying, "After all I did for you," imagine hearing, "I'm proud of the person you became." That kind of sentence stays in someone's heart for years, because guilt pushes people away. Warmth brings them back. Sometimes the smallest change in wording can completely change the feeling inside a family. An older mother wants her daughter to visit more often. Deep down, she feels lonely all week waiting for that moment. So when the phone finally rings, her first instinct is, "You never come see me anymore." The problem is, the daughter hears criticism before she hears love. Now picture the same mother saying this instead, "I miss you. It would be nice to spend time together when you're free." Same loneliness, same empty house, same quiet evenings eating dinner alone. But emotionally, it lands completely differently. One sentence creates guilt, the other creates warmth. And when people get older, that emotional tone matters more than they realize. Adult children are not kids anymore. They don't react to pressure the same way they once did. After a certain age, people protect their peace. They naturally move toward conversations that feel calm instead of heavy. That's why gentle words become so important in old age. A father saying, "You're always too busy for us," might think he's expressing sadness, but what the child feels is pressure. Now compare that to, "Hearing your voice always makes my day better." That sentence pulls people closer instead of making them want to escape the conversation. The difference sounds small, honestly, tiny, but emotionally, it changes everything. Healthy aging doesn't mean pretending loneliness isn't real. It means learning how to speak about that loneliness without placing all the emotional weight onto your children. Because most children do want to stay close to their parents. They just don't want every phone call to feel emotionally exhausting. And in the end, families stay connected longer through peace than guilt ever could. For years, Daniel called his father every Sunday afternoon, same time, same routine. Sometimes he'd sit in his car outside the grocery store before dialing the number because he already knew how the conversation would go. "You care more about work than family. You never come visit anymore. One day I'll be dead, and then you'll finally regret this." Daniel loved his father, truly loved him. That was the painful part. But after every phone call, he felt emotionally exhausted for the rest of the evening, like something heavy had been placed on his chest. So over time, without even meaning to, the calls became shorter, then less frequent. A quick check-in instead of a long conversation. His father noticed the distance immediately, and instead of softening, he became sharper, more bitter. Every conversation carried disappointment in it. Then one freezing winter night, Daniel got a call from the hospital. His father had collapsed at home. When Daniel walked into the hospital room, something inside him sank. The old man looked smaller somehow, frail, quiet, not like the stubborn, loud father he remembered growing up with. And for the first time in years, there was no criticism waiting for him, no guilt, no angry comments, just silence and the sound of hospital machines humming in the background. After a long while, his father finally spoke, very softly. "I thought if I made you feel guilty, you'd stay close to me." Daniel looked down at the floor and didn't know what to say. Then his father whispered something he had never said before. "I wasn't angry, son. I was lonely." And suddenly, all those painful years sounded different, not like anger, not like rejection, like fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of getting old alone. Before Daniel left that hospital room, his father quietly said, I didn't need perfection from you. I just missed you. And honestly, that sentence changed everything between them. There are certain sentences that slowly damage families without anyone noticing at first. Not yelling, not huge arguments, just little comments repeated over the years. A mother says, "Other children visit their parents every week." A father says, "Your brother cares more about family than you do." Maybe they think they're motivating their children. Maybe they're just hurt and don't know how to say it properly. But comparison changes the feeling inside a relationship almost immediately, because nobody feels loved when they constantly feel measured against somebody else. Even fully grown adults still want something very simple from their parents: acceptance, not competition. And once love starts feeling conditional, people slowly become emotionally distant without even realizing it. But honestly, there's another sentence that hurts even more. I'm just a burden now. A lot of elderly parents say this quietly during sad moments, sitting at the dinner table, riding home from a doctor's appointment, watching their children look tired. They think they're just being honest, but what children hear is much heavier. They hear fear, hopelessness, emotional pain they don't know how to fix. A daughter may lie awake all night after hearing those words, wondering, what if my parent is giving up? That kind of emotional weight stays with people. The hard part about aging is that it can slowly make people feel invisible. Retirement changes identity. Illness changes confidence. Loneliness changes the way people see themselves. But older parents who keep some emotional balance, friendships, hobbies, faith, routines, small joys, often have healthier relationships with their children. Because children want to help their parents from love, not panic, not guilt. And families usually stay close when conversations still feel peaceful, not emotionally heavy every single day. As people get older, many of them slowly realize something they didn't fully understand when they were younger. Love cannot survive on control for very long. It survives on grace, on softness, on the feeling that somebody can come near you without feeling judged all the time. The Bible talks about love as patient, gentle, kind, not demanding, not constantly reminding people of what they owe, not keeping score every time someone forgets to call. But families fall into that trap so easily. Parents want attention, children want peace, and both sides end up hurting each other while still loving each other deeply. That's the sad part. Aging parents are often scared of being forgotten. Adult children are scared of never doing enough. Everybody carries pain into the conversation before a single word is even spoken. That's why compassion matters so much inside families. Sometimes the most healing sentence is not, "Why don't you visit more?" Sometimes it's simply, "I'm really happy to hear your voice today." That kind of gentleness changes people. You can feel the difference immediately, because soft words make people feel safe again. And maybe that's one of the biggest lessons faith teaches us as we grow older. Love grows better in places where judgment gets quieter. Parents cannot control time. They cannot stop aging, illness, or loneliness from coming. But they can still choose what kind of spirit they bring into the family: warmth, patience, grace. And years from now, children may not remember every conversation perfectly, but they will remember how they felt after talking to their parents: calm, accepted, loved without guilt, loved without fear, loved in a way that still feels like home. At the end of life, most parents are not really asking for money, perfection, or constant attention. What they miss is closeness. Warm conversations in the kitchen again, a familiar voice on the phone, the feeling of still being part of someone's life. But love struggles to survive in places where guilt shows up every day. Children may endure pressure for a while, but people stay emotionally close where they feel calm, where they feel accepted. So maybe, for some parents listening tonight, one small change in language could heal more than years of frustration ever could. Instead of saying, "You never care about me anymore," maybe just say, "I miss you." That softer sentence reaches the heart differently. And if your parents are still alive, call them while you still can. Even a short conversation matters more than people realize, because one day the phone will stop ringing forever, and the words left unsaid will stay heavy for a very long time. If this video spoke to your heart, share your thoughts below. And remember this: when parents grow old, children don't stay close because they are forced to. They stay close because home still feels peaceful when they return.